Hello everybody, I am Tom and you are watching me play Path of Exile. So today I want to run a test. I have been running Simulacrums on my Simulacrum character. I'm quite proud of that name. But the general idea is I can infinitely run Simulacrums. I can just stand in one spot and kill everything relatively easily with this build. It does work. It's a cast when stunned chieftain, and we have a bunch of things that we cast when we stun, and we just stand there with Righteous Fire on, and we kill everything in the Simulacrum. However, I've been making a lot of currency. I actually spent a shitload of it. I was actually up to like just shy of 200 divines earlier, like yesterday, essentially. And I spent a bunch to upgrade this guy even further. I probably didn't need to be perfectly honest, but he's now essentially finished. We're sitting on level 99, so we're very close to getting 100, which will be the first character I've ever actually got to level 100. But I have bought myself 50 Simulacrums. I've reached the point now where I have just been farming Simulacrum and nothing else, because I can afford to buy like 20 at a time very, very easily. I've bought 50 because I want to do a test and I want to see how much loot I get for this. So I've essentially set up a dump tab. We're just going to throw everything that we get in here. I will sort through it at the end and see how much I actually make. Now, I'm not going to record my entire Simulacrum runs. I'll probably have some recorded just so you can get a general idea of what's happening. But I think we're probably going to do a hard cut here and crash to me just finishing all these Simulacrums, because this will take some time. I will also be timing it to see how long it takes me to complete all 50. But yeah, we'll see how profitable it actually is. For the record, all 50 of these Simulacrums I bought for 20 divines. I don't know if the price is still the same. I bought these a while ago, so let's have a look and just double check. Alright, we're back. Yeah, so I bought them at 20. They're currently sitting at like... That's pretty much the price I paid at 2.5. They're going for 2.7 at the moment. I reckon you could probably get this going again relatively easily. I reckon 50 for 20 is probably pretty good. At the very least at the time of recording. So I've spent about 20 divines on this. That is pretty much all the cost for this entire thing. All you need is Simulacrums, because there's no way to buff Simulacrum really other than just running them. So I'm going to run all of these and we'll be back at the end. I'll have it all timed, but I'm definitely going to be watching YouTube in the background, so I'm not going to record much of this, if any of it. Hey everybody. Before we get started, I thought it might be prudent to go over what Simulacrum actually is, and what kind of character you're going to need to run it, and what character I'm using to run it. So this is all somewhat basic knowledge for PoE veterans, so if this isn't relevant to you, there are timestamps in the video, you can just jump ahead. But what is Simulacrum? In short, it's the pinnacle activity of delirium. So for new players, if you're running around maps and you see that big kind of fractured mirror that you run through, and it makes a bunch of extra monsters spawn throughout the map, that's delirium, and these delusional enemies can drop Simulacrum splinters. If you get 300 of those splinters, you'll get a full Simulacrum. You can then put that Simulacrum into the map device and run it like a regular map. It's worth noting that you can't modify it in any way, so scarabs and all those sorts of modifiers don't work. So all you need is the Simulacrum, you can't do anything to it. And the Simulacrum is then a wave-based mode where you just kill a bunch of enemies for 15 waves. It used to be 30 waves, it's much better now that it's 15. All the rewards were scaled properly so that it's just shorter and better now. But the monsters don't drop any loot. All of the loot is dropped at the end of each round. So you do wave 1, kill everything, you get a bunch of loot, start the next wave, kill everything, get a bunch of loot, all the way up to wave 15. It is worth noting that if you want to run this, you're going to need a pretty good build. Specifically for the high wave Simulacrums, there are some pretty damn tanky and dangerous mobs. They can do a lot of damage and they are very tanky. So for those interested in what I'm running specifically, I have a character that is specifically built to do Simulacrum. I built it for that purpose. I have literally a 0% chance of dying. I cannot die, in Simulacrum at least. And it is a cast when stunned chieftain. Essentially, I use Petrified Blood and a Bloodnos Jewel, plus some recoup on the tree as well. And that makes me functionally immortal. I am using this ring here, so that I get stunned every time I'm hit, because I have no energy shield, and my stun is based on an energy shield, so every time I'm hit, I get stunned. And that will cast all of my spells in a big AoE area around me. And then for really big monsters, we use the Chieftain Ascendancy that gives you the Hinakora proc, which is a big AoE attack. So you want to kill one of the smaller mobs, which then does a really big ignite on the big mob, which will kill it. I will link in the description a Miracles video, because the base of the build that I made, I stole directly from him. The differences I've made are all relatively minor. There's nothing really much different from his build. So I'll just send you his way if you want to get the build up and running yourself. With that out of the way, let's get into the farming, shall we? Alright everybody, so the reason I've come back right now is because we are at a kind of pivotal moment at my PoE career, because I am about to hit level 100 for the first time. I need, 300,000 experience? Just under 250,000 experience. 250,000 and we hit level 100, which will be the first time I have ever hit level 100 in PoE 1. So that's somewhat of an occasion, I suppose. Alright, so we are sitting at 4,250,181,199. So we need less than 200,000. We need like 150,000. Very close. And boom, baby. Grandier goals reach level 100. That is the first time I've ever got a character level 100. The highest level I've had before this character was level 98, which was on, I think I did Lightning Strike Slayer in Settlers, was the highest I got previously at 98. So level 100. Not bad. I don't know if there's anything I actually want to really get. I need to do a bit of a reroll. I think for now we're actually just going to take more fire damage as part of explosions, because why not? More pops on explosions, that seems pretty good to me. Alright everybody, we are on Simulacrum number 50, wave 15. Pretty much done. I don't want to find Kosus before he starts being annoying. Is it even going to get... There he is. Hello, Kosus. So my build can do literally everything in there really, really easily, but Kosus can kind of get annoying if he ends up being the final enemy left, because I need to kill other enemies to get the Hinokora proc to actually kill him in a timely fashion, otherwise I stand here for way too long. Anyway, we're pretty much there, 12 left. 8 left. That should be the rest of them. Beautiful. I have one enemy somewhere. As you can see, this build has fantastic visual clarity. Alright, so that there is 50 simulacrums completed. Let's show you the loot, shall we? So we have 4 quad tabs that are essentially full. I did do some organization before I did the last simulacrum, just so it was easier for you guys to see the totality. This is just initial kind of organizing. I haven't done anything particularly good. As you can see, I have overflow of my essences and my oils. This one here, which is all kind of just bubblegum currency. We've got 5 raw divine, 15 exalts, shitload of chaos, I don't know how much. A few ancient orbs, annulments, GCPs. I also have my breach stones in here. You get a fair amount of breach stones. You also get a fair amount of breach rings. This here, we nearly got 2 full grasping males. This one was here beforehand. Ignore this one. But we nearly got 2 full grasping males worth of breach rings. You can actually sell these on, if you go to like TFT and stuff, you can sell like a full inventory of these. They usually go for about 1 chaos per if you sell the whole inventory. No way in hell I'm going to bother doing that. I'm just going to roll grasping males and see if I get something that is actually worth it. Going through, we got 6 darker halves. These are worth a fair amount of currency just by themselves, about 45 chaos each. Although if you just turn them into the Eldritch Chaos, you can also sell the Eldritch Chaos for a fair amount. So arguably just worth to hand them in. If I got some silver or gold, I would probably sell those. All this cheaper stuff, it's usually not worth in my opinion. It's just kind of a pain in the ass. Fossils, on the other hand, we've got a shitload of fossils and a shitload of prime chaotic resonators. They will sell very, very easily, and you can sell a lot of them, so that will be added up in my collection. We also got a fuck ton of stacked decks. You get a shitload of stacked decks. Scarabs are also good. There's probably some that are worth some money in here. I'll go through Wealthy Exile and sort that all out. Shitload of stacked decks. There's even more stacked decks in here. As you can see, you just get so many of them. So there's probably like, I don't know, I mean, more than 10 div worth of stacked decks alone. So you do get a lot of stacked decks. Moving on, we get a shitload of incubators. Now, ordinarily, as I was playing this, I would have been using incubators. I didn't because I wanted to show you how many you get, and I kind of wanted that in the calculation. But it is worth noting that while you're doing your simulacrum, you should have an incubator on every single slot. Before I started doing this 50, that's what I was doing. And generally speaking, you get enough incubators that you can continuously sustain that. So as soon as one finishes, you just slap another one on. So that's another thing that's worth noting. Generally speaking, you'll have more loot because a lot of these incubators will get transferred directly into loot by actually using them because you're going to kill a shitload of monsters. We have a lot of gems here. These are the ones I got through my filter. So they're essentially either 20 quality or over level 20. I have no idea how expensive they are. I have a couple over here that I know are going to be worth money. 2120 increased critical, 2120 Molten Strike. That's definitely going to be worth it because people buy these so that they can try and make them go to lab and turn them into Molten Strike at the Zenith. If you pull that off, then you get a very, very big profit. You also get a shitload of synth items. I haven't gone through really to look at all of these perfectly, but I've essentially kept any where I'm like, I could make money off this if I crafted on it. As far as the actual flat base, I don't know if any are worth any. I will go test that in a second. I will go price all of this up. Same thing for the fracture bases here. As for maps, I only picked up T16s. The two separations here, these T16s are all beach. Beach is my favored map. So if you put a bunch of favored maps in of the one you want, you get about the same amount of your favored maps as you do regular maps. And these are just assorted other T16s. Obviously, you will get a shitload more maps if you're picking up all the ones under T16 as well. You will get full inventories of maps if you pick up under T16 as well, but I'm only really interested in T16s, as well as the boss relevant ones. So we have Shaper ones here, Elder ones here, and then Conqueror ones here for fighting Cirrus. I had a complete note of mind blank there. And then we have the unique maps down here. Obviously, you can sell these maps if you get enough of them if you want to sell them in bulk. Generally speaking, I'm not even going to include these in the sell price for the most part. The jewels, we have 3 different types. We have the small, the medium, and the large. Now, the large is where all of our profit is probably going to come from, or the vast majority of the profit is going to come from. These are currently selling for about 12 divine un-ID'd, so you don't want to ID these. Strictly, the reason they're selling for that much un-ID'd, by the way, is that there is a gamble. The way that these work, I probably have one in my collection, so I can just show you. We do have voices in here. So, add 3 dual socket passive skills, add 7 small passive skills, which grant nothing. Now, what you want is adds 1 small passive skill, which grants nothing, or adds 3 small passive skills that grant nothing. They're the ones that are actually going to make you currency. They are very, very rare though. Particularly the 1 passive voices, I think is about as rare as a mirror. Maybe not that rare, but it's very, very rare that you're going to get 1 passive voices. So, what people do is they buy a shit ton of them and then ID them. You will make profit eventually. If you can buy enough, you will make profit. So there are people that will just buy un-ID'd in bulk. Just go in and tell them, I have 10. Do you want them? And they'll say, yep. They'll just give you a shitload of currency for them and you'll be able to sell them very, very quickly. Okay, as for the other two you definitely want to ID because that's how you make your money. So, Megalomaniac will just give you 4 passives, 1 does nothing, and then you get to 3, which gives you 3 big passives. These are a pain in the ass to price unless you know what you're looking for. There are some combinations that are going to be worth a lot. Generally speaking, the 3 that you get are not going to be priced. I'm hoping Awakened PoE trade is showing up currently. It should be. If it's not, it's fine, I can put it in post. But the general idea is that you want to be pricing these based on good combinations of skills. Now the problem is, you're often not going to, unless you're particularly knowledgeable about the game, it's harder to price these. However, if you do have at least a basic knowledge of what things are going to go together, that's the way to price it. And of course, if you put it in the vault and you get spammed with messages, you've obviously put it in for too cheap. And if you put it in and no one asks for it for 3 days, you've put it in for too expensive. So you can kind of figure it out by yourself. But generally speaking, they're not amazing. And as for split personalities are kind of pointless. Most of them are worth about 5 chaos. Some of them go up to 10 to 15 chaos. And then there are a couple of combinations. If you get energy shield mana as the stats that you're increasing, that could probably sell for a bit, I think. But we're talking like 2 divine, maybe. You're like 1.5, 2 divine. So they're not necessarily going to give you big profits. Megalomaniac potentially has some big profits, but you're going to have to be very specific in what you're looking for, and you need to know what to look for. Split personality, unlikely to give you much profit, but occasionally you'll get a hit that'll give you 1 or 2 divine. And then we have voices, just sell these motherfuckers un-ID'd. Unless you are doing a shitload and you have like 50 un-ID'd voices. If you got like 50 un-ID'd voices, then open them and gamble if you want, but I would still suggest just sell these motherfuckers because you will be able to sell them, they will go quickly, the people buying them will buy them in bulk, so you'll only have to do 1 trade. Honestly, just put 1 in your sell tab, list it for whatever it's going for at the current moment. I think these are going for about 12 at the moment. Yep, 11. There's a couple on there for like 11, 11.5, but the vast majority are going for 12. List 1 for 12. When the person says they want to buy it, ask them, hey, how many do you want? I have X number. They'll probably buy them all. Because the kind of people who are buying these are buying them so they can make a shitload of money on gambling, essentially. But this is where a big part of our profit is coming from. As you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 right there. So that's like 144 divines in this little part here. Disregard all the other loot we got. That's 144 divines. This strategy cost me 20. I paid 20 divines for 50 of these. This is 144 right here. So even discounting everything else, we're good, okay? We're more than good. But generally speaking, the voices un-ID'd is where you're going to get a big chunk of your currency, and everything else is largely bubblegum, and you're going to get, like, it's harder to price. Speaking of, I'm going to price all of this shit now. It'll probably take me a while. I'll sell the voices, I'll sell anything that I'm probably going to sell, just so we have raw currency in what we're actually doing, and we'll have a look at what we get at the end. Now that is a satisfying trade. Alright everybody, so it's time to go over profits. We're going to go over quickly for the brevity of the video. First things first, all of this stuff here is just stuff that you could craft to actually sell it for profit. We're going to ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. Maps, it's about 6 div worth of maps. I'm not going to actually sell any of these, so it's all theoretical profit, so I'm not going to count any of it. Moving on. Incubators. There is about 10 div worth of incubators here. I'm probably not going to sell them. I'm going to use them. So again, I'm not going to include them in my final price. As for these Megalomaniacs, these are all Megalomaniacs that on average will probably sell for about 50 chaos. I'm going to list them all for a div. The ones that don't sell for a div get marked down to 100 chaos. The ones that don't sell for 100 chaos will get marked down to 50. Those that don't sell for 50, I'll just sell the Lily and get rid of them. But on average, you're looking at about 50 chaos each, which gives me like just shy of 10 divines worth of Megalomaniacs here. Moving on to Scarabs. It's like 9 div worth of kind of generic Scarabs. We have some better ones that I've already moved over. So the good Scarabs I've taken out. It's like 9 div worth of Scarabs. Now this is the actual profit page. This kind of corner you can ignore. This is just whatever I had left over after doing all of my selling. This corner here, this is one Megalomaniac sale. I'll put the clip in right here. Alright everybody. So, as I was going through selling all my Megalomaniacs and pricing them, I found this one here, which is kind of baller. I listed it for a mirror. A guy's just messaged me. He's asked whether 800 was good. I'm selling it for 800 div. This is probably out of the range of the kind of thing you're going to expect from doing 50 Simulacrums, but I got one. So he's doing trading to get his divines in order. But, that's a hell of a sale. The big one here, by the way, is Primordial Bond. Primordial Bond is where most of the money comes from, because people are doing a bunch of stuff with golems League, and also all of the buffs that the golems give you have been buffed, so the 40% increased effect of buffs from the golems is huge, I'm pretty sure. That's the really big thing. Also, this with Prodigious Defense is also like a really good combo. And I don't know how good Enduring Composure is. I think it's probably alright. It's probably alright. But this is by far, out and away, the largest sale I have ever made in Path of Exile. So I'll just wait until he gets his ducks in a row and messages me, and then we'll trade that off. But it's a hell of a trade. Insane trade. Insane trade. Now that is what we call a lot of defiance. Holy shit. Oh. Oh. Jesus. That's actually nuts. it's actually nuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 980 divine sitting there so far, just in raw divine that we have. That's pretty out there. Alright, let me do some little additional trades and then we'll see how we're sitting. As you can see, that is a satisfying sale. That is the single largest sale I've ever had, ever, for anything. But that was one Megalomaniac sold for that. We have another one here that also has Primordial Bond. The reason this was as expensive as it was is it had Primordial Bond plus 2 others that were pretty good to go with it. So I listed it for a mirror initially and then I sold it for 800. This one here is probably worth like 100, maybe 250 div, something like that. I'm not going to sell this one, I'm actually going to keep this because I have a friend who was talking about potentially doing a golem build in the future, so I will save this for him. I was far too cheap to save the 800 div one for him. This pays for my other character, so tough luck. This stuff in the middle you can kind of ignore. All of this stuff is just stuff that is useful for my characters. For instance, I use a Valerium, so I just corrupted them, see if they were worth anything. They're not really. These here are all potentially useful on my Smite build. Replica Dragon Fang's Flight, potentially Profit. We didn't hit anything good, we got +3 level to double strike gems, so not actually worth anything, so you can ignore that. This one down here, Synthesized Jewel. I don't know how to price this. Increased attack and cast speed during Onslaught is a very rare synth implicit, as far as I can tell, and I have no idea how to price it. The only things that I could find that actually had this as a synth implicit were like mirror tier gems with 3 synth implicits, and one of them happened to be the increased cast and attack speed during Onslaught. So like, I have no idea how to price this. I don't know if it's like 50 chaos trash, or whether you can roll that up to something good and it'd be worth like 50 divine. I have absolutely no idea. If anyone does know, let me know in the comments, I guess, but I just can't price this because I have no idea what it's worth. These 2 here, these are potentially worth about 1 to 2 div each, nothing serious. Same with these 2 up here. This is worth like a div. Chance to block spell damage, T1 Fractured is pretty good. T1 Fractured Life on the boots is also pretty good. Somewhere between 1 and 5 div, I would imagine. Moving on to the jewels, we have Increased Critical Strike Support, 2120. That's 4 div right there. Molten Strike, 2120. Again, like 2 div, so like 6 div worth of jewels. All of my oils, at least all of my high tier oils, I converted up so I could sell them easier. 1 gold, 1 silver. You're talking about like 1.5, 2 div, something like that. These are the actual good scarabs. We have an Ambush Scarab of Containment, that's like 1.2 div by itself. We have Ultimatum Scarab of Catalyzing, that's like 100 chaos. Then we have 13 Cartography Scarabs at Risk, that's about just over a div worth of risk scarabs. So that's where the profit is from my scarab tab. Moving down, we have 3 passives on Mana Reservation. That's worth like 4.5 div. It's pretty good. The rest of these combined are worth like 2 div. So you're talking about like 6 div in jewels just sitting there. I already went over this one. This is just a primordial bond. It's again hard to actually price this properly, but I'm thinking like probably 100 div. It's hard to say. Split personality. This one here, intelligence and max energy shield. This one is worth like 2 div, 2.5 div. Oops. Yep, like 2.5 div. This one here, we have strength and intelligence. This one's worth a divine easily. And then these 4 down here are all worth about 50 chaos. These 3 on the left are strength and accuracy. This one on the right is strength and max life. They're worth like a div altogether, like 50 chaos each, thereabouts. All of the essence put together is like 4 div? Just shy of 4 div. What's Wealthy Exile say? 3.8. Yep. 3.8 worth of essence. I'm going to just trust Wealthy Exile on that. The essence is usually like accurate enough to just take whatever Wealthy Exile tells you, which by the way is a website that'll break down all of your wealth. Ancient Orbs. Yeah, it's like a div worth of Ancient Orbs, like half a div worth of Annulls. It's kind of just bubblegum currency. It's fine. The Eldritch Chaos is actually worth a fair amount. That's worth like 2.5 div for 10 of those, which is nice. Now, we are sitting on 336 Chaos, 15 Exalted, and 180 Divines. So, that's all our profit. It's a lot of profit considering that was my initial investment. 20 Divines in literally no time. Now, the actual time to run all of this, I will meet you over in Excel and we'll go over all of that. Alright, so we should be recording desktop at this point. So, this here is my data. Nothing particularly fancy about what I've done here. I've just done start time, end time, how long it took me, how much gold I made per round. So you can see the specific maps that we're doing here. I actually noted this here, I kind of forgot I'd done this, but I sold all of my stacked decks directly for currency. However, if you were so inclined, you could gamble those stacked decks, and we had a total of 1,285 of them. So theoretically, with that many stacked decks, you could make a profit by gambling them. I wouldn't suggest it to be a good idea, but it is indeed something that you could do. Going down to the data we have here, we have total time, took 1,004 minutes, which is 16.73 reoccurring hours. It's a long time. I did not do all of this in one sitting. 50 simulacrums takes a long ass time. The average time per simulacrum is about 20 minutes. Just over 20 minutes. You can see the breakdown of which map is the best here. Lunacy's Watch is noticeably better. Lunacy's Watch is the best map you can get for it. And the worst is definitely Ariath Delusion. Ariath Delusion is really bad. Just because the reason these differ, by the way, is just the layouts of the map. Sometimes you have to run around to find like groups of enemies to kill. Whereas Lunacy's Watch, there's essentially 2 places that you stand, which will get every enemy. You kill everything in one spot, run to the other spot, kill everything there, and just run back and forth between those 2 spots. Whereas Ariath Delusion, it's got like 3 or 4 technically, because it's like a big T shape essentially. So you've got to like one end of like a big T, and then you're going to run all the way down to like another point on the T and another point on the T. It's just, it's the most annoying map to get. Also, Hysteria Gate is apparently the least common map, although this could just be variants because we've only run 50 samples and there's 5 each, so, you know, it could just be random variants, but we did get Hysteria noticeably less than the other ones. Moving on, gold. Total gold we got was not much. You do not get a lot of gold doing this strategy. However, we were getting like 66,000 gold an hour, which I guess isn't horrible. It's not like the end of the world. It's also worth noting this time is somewhat inflated, just because the time between rounds, I gave 30 seconds. It's actually a lot less than 30 seconds on average. I rounded up to 30 seconds just in case, you know, you're piss farting around and trying to take your time with it or whatever. But in reality, from going out to back in, because there is a stash inside the simulacrum, if you are not putting everything in specific stash tabs and like sorting everything as you're going and you're just dumping everything and then going back in again, it's like 10 to 15 seconds in between rounds. Like it's very, very quick to start a new one after you've started the previous one, particularly now that they have the little side inventory for the map device. So it's actually, you actually get like, it's insanely quick. You come out, put another simulacrum in, go back in immediately. It's very quick. but I rounded up just to give it as small amount as possible. Now, as for my profit, I'm going to give 2 separate profits here to do div per hour is what we're going to go with. So, if we exclude the 800 div that I got from selling that gem, which I think is probably the right thing to do because you have to get lucky to get a kind of sale like that. All right, we're back. So I've just rechecked all of my totals. My total currently is 1,232 divines, which is... it's up there. Without the jewels, the really big jewel sale, we're sitting at 432. So we then do divine per hour. Let me just be a little more thorough and truncate this so it looks nice for you guys. Without my big jewel sale, it's still 25 divine an hour, which is not bad. It's actually way better than I thought. Hang on, I've made a big mistake. That's more like it. Okay. 1,132 is my profit, not 1,232. So, with my massive sale, that is 67 div per hour, which is absolutely fucking nuts. But even without it, we're sitting at 19 div an hour, which I don't think is too bad, really. Considering I sat there essentially AFK, I was running around, obviously, I need to run to each of the groups, and I hold down right mouse button so that I can continuously curse everything. But I was watching YouTube the entire time, so, you know, not bad. 19 div an hour for something that is, for my build, that easy. I like it. And of course, if you get lucky and get a couple of good jewel sales, this pumps this number up even higher. This 1,132, that is not taking into account selling all of the other Megalomaniacs, so if you do, that actually pumps it up by another like 10 div. So maybe we hit 20 div an hour. Not horrible. I'm kind of happy with that. This is the first time I've actually done this math, by the way, so it's kind of nuts. I'll be back in game in a second. And all my currency is gone. We're back down to 68 divines. So we now have a mirror worth of gear on this Slayer, which was the main point of why I was farming all that anyway. But that's going to be it for the video. I made about a mirror, I spent about a mirror. That's how it goes. So that was fun. God, I burned through that currency so quickly. I did one, like, just buying session and I bought everything I needed. A lot of the stuff that's expensive in here is, like, I need, like, specific lethal prides. And I bought myself, like, a melding of the flesh. There's some stuff in here that's expensive. The big ones, I think, here were the Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh here. More than skill. It's pretty expensive. It was like 300 div between them, a bit more maybe. Yeah, it's some pretty good lighter meaning there. There was some money I spent on this. Also got myself a mage blood. It was some currency, but this character is now built, so that's fun. I just need to level him up a bit more. He's only level 93, but this character is now built. I do suggest running those simulacrums, even not doing 50. 50 is a shitload, but it is a pretty good strategy if you want to just sit there and watch something on the other monitor while you're doing stuff and just sit there farming one thing. It is quite fun. But that's going to be it for the video. If you like the video, please leave a like. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.